What's up, guys? Chris here from Mainly Mesh. It's Theory Thursday. We're going to be talking about something that has been on the airwaves for a while, and you've seen a few of these patterns in some of our heads, but we're going to be talking about the idea of transferable patterns. So what I mean about a transferable pattern is a pattern that you can use in more than one head, and preferably across more than one brand. Because I'm a big physics guy, and so physicists really are looking for that theory of everything. And so obviously it'd be really nice if there were just one perfect pattern that you could string in every head and it would work perfectly. Since there's different types of players and everything, that's not necessarily going to happen. But now that some of these heads are owned by similar companies or have similar numbers of sidewall holes, you can use certain patterns in more than one head, and it's going to have a pretty similar effect. So I'm going to walk you through our first transferable pattern, but first I'm going to show you just kind of what it looks like. So if you see in all of these heads, if Sam does a quick overview, we have a bunch of different types of head here. So we have the Brine Cyber, Brine RP3, Maverick Optic, Brine Clutch X Elite, and a Maverick Optic High School. So this one is universal. And they're all strung with pretty much exactly the same sidewall pattern, save the clutch, which is my gamer. I use a slightly different pattern for it. And then as you look at the channels of the heads as well, you're going to notice that they're pretty much the same pocket throughout all of these heads. And you have the X-Spec wider Cyber, you have a narrow RP3, you've got a wider Optic U, a Clutch X Elite. So you can kind of see that these are going to be very, very similarly performing pockets. And the first step of identifying a transferable pocket is first identifying how many sidewall holes a head has. So for these Brine heads, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 sidewall holes. And so that's kind of the first step, is seeing how many sidewall holes there are. I think Warrior has 19. This Optic has 17. But anything close, you're going to be able to get something pretty close to the same pattern. So then, and this is a question I get a lot from you guys, is like, how do you start a pocket? Like, how do you tie the first 3 knots to get a good channel? And so that's the base idea of a transferable pattern, is tying the top in a very similar way. So the pattern, and I will take you through this whole pattern by the end of the video. The top pattern is you're going to tie the sidewall to the second sidewall hole on these 18-hole Brine heads, skip, tie the first 10-diamond row on the 4th sidewall hole, skip, anchor knot, skip, knotted SI, skip, knotted SI, and then over these next 2 holes, the tutorial that we put up yesterday, which is the 90 knot into a stacked SI. And so now as I bring you through and you notice on all of these heads, we've done that same exact thing. Give or take, well, this one is the one different one. Sam tied it on the 3rd. But so you'll see here with this Maverick, with the Optic, did something very similar. So they actually start their sidewall a little lower. So we have tie on the 2nd, tie the top string on the 2nd, tie on the 3rd, skip, anchor knot, skip, knotted SI, skip, knotted SI, 9D tie into a stacked SI. And the same goes for all of these heads. From there, the rest of the pattern that we've been using the most is as follows. So on this RP3, we have the stacked SI, and then we're going to tie. And when I say tie, that means it's not a 1. It's coming right after the stacked SI. You're just tying on the plastic first, and then the 1, 1, 1. So 3 1s in a row. Tie again, which is, so you see there's no mesh there. And then that 1 to tying off in the throat. The coolest thing about a transferable pattern like this, when you have the top as stable as it is it allows you to have a little flexibility in the final knots of the head. So that's usually the way we tie it off to give you a very consistent mid pocket. But on my Clutch X, which is a wider head, I was noticing I wasn't getting quite enough whip as I was liking. So what I did is I switched those ones up to some knotted SIs instead. So you see I have 2 knotted and then a tie, 1, 1, and then a 1 tying off in the throat. And so you can still personalize your pocket a little depending on what head you're actually using. But that's the premises. And I've mentioned before the idea of a transferable pocket in terms of those warrior heads that have fewer sidewall holes, like the Nas, like the Evo X, like the Revo X, that you can use my Nas pattern in most of those, our Nas pattern in most of those. And it's the same idea. So whenever you have heads that are reasonably the same shape with these sidewall holes, you can transfer some of these patterns. So our next transferable pattern is one that I've used a bunch for STX heads and some Nike heads. So I'll be talking about that probably next week sometime. But this is just something for you guys to think about, and I would love if you guys tried out this pattern as well, because it's one we've really fallen in love with, and one that works really well for kind of what we go for at Mainly Mesh. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys are enjoying the Theory Thursdays. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have any other ideas for Theory Thursdays in the future. Thanks to Sam for holding this little camera in my face. And I'll catch you guys next time. Yay!